When you started your career with Vanderbilt and even starting this particular project that you're working on, do you have any personal connection to it? What influenced you to do this work?
Yeah, so that's a bit of a long story that I'll abbreviate really quickly. So I was an athlete in high school. I played college football for a year, so I was all into sports. So when I went to college, I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer. So I was on track to be an athletic trainer that morphed into being a physical therapist, which morphed into, well, I like learning about the body. Maybe I'll go to med school. So I actually went to grad school with the intent of transitioning to medical school when I was at the University of Missouri. And my first week in grad school was really my first exposure to what rigorous research was. I went to a small university for my undergrad, so I didn't really know what NIH supported research really meant. And so when I started being exposed to investigators that did that kind of research, I fell in love with it immediately. And so I thought in my head, I was like, wow, there's a career where I can just come up with ideas relevant to human health and then try to answer those questions. And when things were in a perfect world, when things work well and funding's not an issue and that kind of thing, it is an absolutely rewarding and fabulous career path, because you're literally studying, human relevant diseases, and you yourself have the opportunity to try to figure that out with a great team of people. And so that's what attracted me to academic research specifically. And then in terms of disease conditions, like I said, I was really focused on how much protein you need to eat, or what kind of activity you need to do in my early graduate career, primarily geared towards physical performance. But then as I started reading the literature, it was obvious to me that, athletes are not necessarily at the biggest health risk, right? So I shifted my focus to a more relevant disease risk, which was what we call cardiometabolic disease, which includes cardiovascular, diabetes, and liver related metabolic disorders. And so that was more relevant and would have a bigger potential impact on human beings than just focusing on athletes. So I shifted my focus to really metabolic diseases that have a huge health burden on our health systems.
This is incredible. I love how from one passion led to another passion, and you were able to discover, like, oh, this is an area that I can fully find myself in. And it sounds like you also feel like you're doing impactful work, which I think that's always important just in any career field that you do. I just have 1 to 2 more questions. So my second to last question is, what top 3 important things do you think that our audience should know about the work done at the MMPC?
Top 3 things. Let's see. So the number one is the rigor or the focus on rigor and reproducibility. That is a huge staple that has been at the MMPC since its inception. And so the goal when the MMPC was created by back in the early 2000s by David Wasserman and Owen McGinnis was that we want to create protocols. We want to create rigorous science that can be reproduced. And number 2, that is fully available to anyone who wants it. So those top 2 things are ingrained. It doesn't do anyone good to be able to do all these fancy things and have access to high technology, and then you don't share it. And so that has been so number 3 would be that there's no ego associated with this, right? It's rigorous science, it's disseminate this information, and it's basically being honest with the scientific community. We want to disseminate this information. And so those principles make it extremely attractive to want to work with a facility like this, because that they're high integrity. And you know that because there are some procedures that me included and other investigators may not necessarily understand the nuances of how the experiments are actually done. That's what courts are usually for. It's out of your expertise. But you trust the data when it comes back to you. And the data that you get, everything is completely open. They send you everything you want and will discuss with you every technique that was run and all the steps, so you can decide for yourself how much you trust the data. And so that is critically important in an age where, there's unfortunately, scientific misconduct, and anyone and their friend can get on social media and just make claims that are not substantiated. So we have a facility that we are confident in to not only, work for us as the investigator, do it in an ethical manner in terms of the mouse experiments, and to be very rigorous. And that's just unrivaled, I think.
This is amazing. One last question. If you could go back to your 2018 self, what advice would you give yourself as you begin this journey in research and academia?
I would say, don't be afraid to ask questions and present very early, unpolished findings as soon as possible, right? Because the tendency is we're human, right? And so we often are, are we going to be rejected for presenting an idea that may not be polished, right? And so, but I think you have to get that mentality out of the way. I tell this to my grad students: don't be afraid to just throw ideas out there, even if they get shot down, because it will, one, save you a ton of time, and it can often lead to a better question design of an experiment. Because that was one of my problems. I wanted to figure things out myself, and I sometimes you wait too long, and then things that could have been an early tweak, or honestly, you may have to abandon that part of a project, and so it. Just get over your ego and reach out for help. That's probably one of the biggest things. And I would also say, don't be afraid to step into uncharted waters and be freely open to learning new techniques.
I think this is valuable advice not only for those who are in academic research, but I think that's just valuable advice for life. Not being afraid to ask questions and explore uncharted territories. That's what life is all about. So thank you so much for joining us for Behind the Lab. It has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.